Good day, everyone. This is Karen Peterson, office manager at First Lutheran Church and a member of the congregation. During the peaceful protests, people of different backgrounds had gotten to know each other. They were working together. Those who cleaned up the areas after the protests were different, but they had the same interests in cleaning up. These differences in people aren't really that great. We are so similar if we get to know people. I lived overseas in the Arab world, in the United Arab Emirates for many years. I first went there after the first Gulf War. I had never experienced being so accepted by people. I was an American woman. It was right after the Gulf War. I had no idea in the early 90s how I was going to be accepted. But people wanted to get to know me. In the early 90s, there weren't that many Americans around except for those in the military who were on leave from Kuwait or Iraq. And so many people went out of their way to welcome me. So in turn, I tried to go out of my way to welcome those military personnel when I would see them, when I would go into Dubai to do shopping or different places like that, because they didn't get out our direction. I lived about 90 miles from there. During that first time I was there, I don't remember what the trouble was, but there was some kind of a problem where people who were not Emiratis, the local people, the expatriates like myself who was working there but didn't belong there. I mean, I didn't have roots there. Something was happening and people were worried about how they would get out if I can't even remember what it was, so if it continued. But I had 2 or 3 good Emirati friends who had come up to me and said that if I ever felt like I needed to get out or that there were problems, to go to them, to go to their homes, or to let them know, and they would make sure that I got out of the country safely. One time when I was out shopping in Dubai, about that same time, a gentleman one of the shopkeepers wanted to know where I was from, and I really didn't want to say. I guess I was embarrassed, maybe, because of whatever it was that was happening in America was kind of involved, and I just didn't want to say, and he kept asking, and finally I said in a kind of soft way that I was American. And he said, "It's okay. It's okay. You're a good person." I was not judged by what my government did. They didn't want to be judged by what their governments were doing. Years later, and many friendships later, after 9/11, all the people that I worked with were worried about my family in the U.S. They didn't realize how far Minnesota was from New York City. And I would try to explain it to them, and then I'd find out that they had people, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, who were right there in New York City. And they had been stuck walking across the bridge. They were in the subways. They were right there. But they were worried about my family. We need to get to know the people that we feel are different. Don't be afraid of them. We may come to realize that The only difference is the color of our skin or the shape of our eyes. We are all God's children. I found a translation of Psalm 56, verse 8 that I truly love. It reads, "Tears are prayers too. They travel to God when we can't speak." So I send my prayers of love, acceptance, and everything to you all.